So, someone in your team isn't showing the right performance or behaviour. Every manager eventually has to deal with a poor performer. I'll take you through the poor performance buffet menu. First, there are things to avoid. I call these the non-starters. First one is denial, pretending there isn't a problem so you don't have to tackle it. Next is withholding, when you admit to yourself that there's a problem but give yourself an excuse not to tackle it, such as, oh, if I get involved it will only make things worse. Next come indirect approaches, like trying to make a joke about the problem or dropping hints, hoping the message will get across. It won't. Then there's the forced confession. Having prepared all night, you bring your team member into a room and say, come on, you've been slacking recently, haven't you? It's actually easy to get someone who works for you to go along with your point of view. You may think you've got their agreement, but you haven't explored their perspective or position at all. With a forced confession, you really have made things worse. Or how about passing the buck? Faced with a potentially awkward situation, you think, I shouldn't have to deal with this. My boss should handle it. Or human resources, yes, HR should fly in and deal with anything I find scary. No. Your boss and HR should advise, help, coach, guide and support, but you're the manager. It's your job to manage your team. Let's look at how you can do that. I'll talk you through the main courses of action. They're sort of in order of increasing directness, but you can use any combination of them in any order. That's why it's called a buffet. I'll start with critical self-reflection. This means asking yourself, by yourself, what your team members' perspective might be. Why might they be behaving in the ways you've observed? Might you be part of the problem? Now, I don't mean you beat yourself up and say, oh, it's all my fault. Critical self-reflection broadens your thinking to open you up to a range of ideas of what the source of the problem could be. It's the opposite of what we tend to do, which is to make an assumption and then stick with it regardless of information. A question to consider is, what outcome or satisfaction are they getting out of doing whatever they're doing or not doing? Sometimes poor performance is a sign of an unspoken grievance or a cry for help. Just uncovering the grievance or listening to the cry might make the problem reduce. Once you've done some thinking, meet your team member and do some drawing out. This means getting a clear picture of the team member's perspective of things. Ask neutral questions like, how do you feel things are going? And is anything bothering you at the moment? Don't ask loaded questions like, why have you been making so many mistakes? Listen, take time, explore his or her views without yet giving yours. Summarise the team members' views to show you've understood them. Once you've done these two, make further choices from the buffet. You may decide to give some feedback, which is describing the behaviour you've observed and the impact it has on you. Remember, you can only see behaviour, not attitude. And you can only describe the impact on you, not the motive of the other person. You might move up a step and give constructive criticism, which goes beyond feedback by the addition of what you think needs to be done. For example, feedback might be, I see your numbers have dropped, which makes me think we won't make our target. While constructive criticism might be, I see your numbers have dropped, we need to find a way to help you get them back up. This may lead to the realisation that you need to supply more coaching or training. I've known cases that needed training in anything from communication skills to anger management. Maybe it's a problem of motivation and you need to rethink how you go about encouraging the standards you want. Maybe a change of role or management style is needed. The model is a buffet because you'd rarely use one of these interventions alone. You almost always want to combine several approaches. Also, just as you, or at any rate I, Don't make one visit to a buffet, but go back a few times. So the manager of a poor performer doesn't meet him or her once, but has a series of conversations at which different combinations of interventions are used until the problem is resolved. At a first meeting, you might draw out his perspective, show you've understood it, then give your feedback. Maybe a week later, do some more drawing out, offer some coaching, maybe discuss a change. If all else fails and you've had no success, then there are the just desserts. See, we had non-starters, main courses of action, and now just desserts. Just desserts is using your organisation's formal process for performance improvement. At this stage, do consult your HR experts. The formal process might include coaching plans, closer supervision, clearer objectives, extra training, and so forth. Formal processes aren't a punishment. They exist to solve performance problems and are often successful. They rarely lead to dismissal. Instead, keep revisiting the poor performance buffet menu and most problems will be solved.